Hello and welcome to the People First podcast. Today we are speaking to a very special guest who is coming to us from all the way in Louisiana in the United States of America. It's Hayley Arceneaux. She became one of the few disabled people to go into space on the SpaceX Inspiration4 mission in 2021. Welcome to the show, Hayley. We want to wish you a happy Learning Disability Awareness Week.
Yes, happy Learning Disability Awareness Week.
Can you introduce yourself and tell us more about you?
So I work in medicine in the United States at St. Jude Hospital, and I like to joke that I'm a part-time astronaut. And so because I had this wonderful experience of going to space, right now I'm not training for a mission. I don't have any plans to go back to space, but if I stay on Earth the rest of my life, I'll still be happy. But you never know what will happen. I never thought I would go to space the one time.
How do you train?
So it was a lot of physical training, so getting our bodies ready. And we did that by experiencing all that gravity and then also by experiencing the zero gravity. So in space, everything floats. We were going to float the entire time we were up there. And so we had to learn what that felt like. And so that was a really important part of training. It was the physical training, but also it was a lot of mental preparations. We had times in the classroom where our teachers would teach us about space and about the rockets. And then I'm glad that you asked that, because one thing I didn't mention was we actually spent a lot of time practicing. So we were in a simulator of our spacecraft. Basically, it was a model of our spacecraft. It looked exactly the same as what we were in space. And we would practice everything about going to space. We would practice launching. We would practice eating our meals. We even practiced sleeping in there. And then while we were practicing everything going right, our space trainers would send us problems that we had to work through together so that we were prepared for any problem that could happen in space.
Did this give you any extra challenges?
I'm so glad that you asked that. So having the metal prosthesis inside of my leg, I do have some limitations. I can't run, I can't jump, I can't bend my knee as much as other people, and that leg is weaker, and so it gets tired and it gives me pain. And so I actually had more trouble with training than I did when I was in space. So climbing the mountain was tough for me because I'd never done anything like that. And because my leg can hurt and get weaker easier, that was something that I had to work towards. I was really trying to do some exercises before I went on the mountain, but I was really, really nervous for that mountain climb because I didn't want anything bad to happen to my leg. And the metal inside of my leg has broken twice, where I've had to have more surgeries. And so I was worried that something might happen and I didn't want to have any more surgeries. So that was something I had to overcome physically, but also I had to really push past a lot of fears that I had. And then when I was sitting in the spacecraft simulator, so I was in this model of our spacecraft when we were practicing going to space, the launch. We actually have to sit there for 2.5 hours before we launch, because during that time they're putting the fuel inside of the rocket. And when I was sitting there, my leg was in this bent position and it started hurting so badly that when I was in this simulation, like we were practicing for space, I just started crying. I was in so much pain in my leg. And so the engineers had to redesign the seat for me. And I was so appreciative that they were very accommodating to what I needed, and that I couldn't sit in a regular seat like everyone else, but that they made it work for me. And so some of the biggest challenges I had were even before I went to space. Now, luckily, in space, my leg felt really good. And I think a lot of it was because there was no gravity. So there was no pressure on my leg. but I was very happy because I'm the first person with a disability to go into space. And I was so happy to show that somebody with a leg or like with metal in their body like mine, that they can go to space and it can go really well.
Wow. It sounds like a really good reasonable adjustment that they made for your leg, and we advocate for reasonable adjustments all the time here at People First. So that sounds fantastic.
Yes, it was a reasonable adjustment, and I have to tell you, they were excited to do it. You know, engineers, they love to work through a challenge, and so they held meetings the day after I was in so much pain that I was crying. The day after that, they were holding meetings to help redesign. So I was so happy that the company was so open to that.
Inspiration in your life?
I think my biggest inspiration has been my oncologist. So the doctor I had when I had cancer that helped me get through that time. And I believe it's because she was so positive. And even though I was going through something very scary where I was very, very sick, she helped me look towards the future. And so instead of just focusing on feeling so badly from the chemotherapy and from the cancer, she helped me think about what my future would look like after cancer. And it allowed me to have hope and to dream. And so then I was able to dream about one day coming back and working at St. Jude. And I think that that positivity really helped. It did a lot for me to help me get through that time. And I'm sure that all of you have people in your lives who are positive and good role models. And that was her role for me.
What do you think the next few years will bring for space travel? Would you go to Mars?
So actually, I'm okay. I don't need to go to Mars. I would be tempted by a moon mission though. The moon looks like a lot of fun. Mars is too far away for me. But I know a lot of people do really want to go to Mars. I think what's going to be exciting is seeing this Artemis program and seeing people going back to the moon. And so I'm so excited. You know, in our lifetime, we haven't seen anyone go to the moon. And so we're going to be able to see people go back to the moon and create technology there to have a base on the moon. And I just think that is so cool. I thought, you know, the people were so excited about the Artemis 2 launch. They just announced there's going to be the crew for Artemis 3 that's going to test some of those technologies to land on the moon. And so I think that's the focus is really over the next 5 years is really going to be on the moon.
You must have been braver than me, because I wouldn't have done that.
What did feels like to be in space?
So with that feeling of being without gravity, it feels like ultimate freedom. Like it feels like you can do anything. I could be upside down. I could do flips in the air. And I would do that. I would do flip after flip after flip in the air. And then it felt like we were all kids again because we were just having so much fun. We were throwing food at each other and catching it like, and to feel like you could do anything without gravity, it kind of felt like when you're in a pool and you float, except there was no pressure on your body of water. And so it was amazing to feel zero gravity. I loved it. I miss it. But also to look at the planet, it is life-changing and it really changes your perspective. For me, it made me feel so much more connected with everyone else on Earth. Just thinking that we're all on this beautiful planet together. And when you look at Earth from space, you're looking at these big land masses. You're seeing all this land and you don't see borders. It just really feels like we're all on this together.
What did space teach you about Earth?
So it really, it made me grateful in a lot of ways for the gravity that we have on Earth. So we all are in gravity all the time and don't even notice it, but it helps keep things from floating away. So in space, things were always trying to float away from me. I'd have to hold on to things at all time, otherwise it would just float off. But also it showed me how beautiful and how precious our planet is. And when you look at Earth from space, it's truly the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. And so it made me want to do everything I can to take good care of Earth and also to just really treasure and appreciate Earth.
What was your favorite part of going to space?
I love that. So when I was in space, we were able to have a live call with my St. Jude patients. So with kids who are fighting cancer, and we had this live call with them, and they were able to ask us questions, and we gave them a tour of our spacecraft. But it was just a really special moment because I was able to bring them into space with me and also share that if I can do this, they can do this. And it's a message of hope. And I would love to share the same message with you today, that just, you know, what you've been through, what you go through, it doesn't always have to define you. That truly the sky is not the limit for you and for your dreams. And you're capable of more than you can even imagine. I never could have imagined that I would ever do something like this in my life. And it taught me so much about really having hope, because even when you're going through really tough times, there are going to be so much better days, and better days than you can even imagine. Thank you all.
So my next question was going to be about Artemis 2, but you've already pretty much answered it. So where did you watch Artemis 2?
Oh, so actually I was at work at the hospital, so I watched it with a patient, and it was so exciting to watch it live. Did any of you watch it?
I think they all watched it in the office.
Oh, perfect. Well, and then whenever Artemis 2 came back to Earth, I got married in April, and we had our rehearsal dinner and during the Artemis 2 splashdown. And so we pulled it up on a TV and we watched it at my wedding rehearsal dinner. We couldn't miss it. It was also special because some of the people at my wedding are engineers for SpaceX. There were some astronauts there, and so we had to watch it.
That's good. A further question as well for you. Considering there's a film called Disclosure Day coming out soon, do you believe that aliens are out there?
Knew that would come in.
I have to see this movie. I do think there's other life out there. Our universe is so massive. We've only explored just a tiny, tiny fraction of it. And so I think just the odds are there's got to be something else out there. But, we don't have any proof of that. I will say, in space, my crew member, Jared, he pulled a prank on us. A lot of people know a lot about Jared, but they don't know he's really funny and he's quite a prankster. And so he brought a toy alien to space. He didn't tell any of us that. And then the first time we go into the cupola, he doesn't say anything. All of a sudden, he takes out the alien and he just lets it float up there. So, we're looking at Earth, we're amazed, and then we look over, there's an alien.
That's brilliant.
It was great.
After this mission.
That is such a deep question. I love that. So I really want people to look at my story and to see how important it is to have hope. That in life, everyone goes through tough times. Everyone has their thing that they have to go through. My thing was I had cancer as a child. But everyone has something that they have to overcome. And I want people to look at my story and see that having tough experiences, that it doesn't have to stop you. It doesn't have to limit you. And then just having that importance of hope, because there were times when I was going through cancer, and then in the years to come when I kept having to have surgeries on my leg, there were times where I lost my hope. And it made it so much harder to recover because it was hard to see better days ahead. And but the beauty of life is that there will be better days ahead, and you don't know what these are going to be. That's life. You can't predict it, but that some of these days that are coming your way are better than you can imagine. And so really I hope that when people look at my story, they can see possibility.
That's really moving. Do you want to give that a round of applause?
Thank you. I was so excited to go to space. And we were sitting in that spaceship for 2.5 hours as they were fueling the rocket. And so I had a lot of time to just sit there and think. But I was just so ready. And so during those 2.5 hours, I did spend some of that time studying. I was looking over my procedures another time. But then as they were, the time was really like decreasing. We were getting closer to launch. And then they came over the radio and they're like 10, 9, 8. I literally yelled out, I said, let's do this. We were just so excited. There was so much energy. And then I really didn't feel scared. And I remember thinking, like, I'm sure I'm going to be nervous for launch. When is it going to hit? When are the nerves going to hit? And so like the night before I went to space, I slept really well. And then that morning I remember looking at myself in the mirror and thinking, oh, I'm not nervous. I wonder if I'm going to get nervous when I put my spacesuit on. And then I put my spacesuit on. And thought like, I'm still not nervous. I wonder if I'm going to get nervous when I'm in the rocket. And then I wonder if I'm going to get nervous when they're counting down from 10. But I really wasn't nervous. And I think part of that was because we'd done so much training. And so we were so well prepared. And because of all that training, I was just ready to be there. I was so excited to get into space. I knew in less than 10 minutes, I'm going to be in space. But to be honest with you, I was nervous for coming back to Earth. That's a process called reentry, and coming through the atmosphere can be really dangerous. It's the riskiest part of the mission. And so that's what I was nervous for. And then just how did I cope with that? I just had to really focus on how I trusted the engineers that made the spaceship, how I trusted my training. And I just had to really hope that everything would go well. And it did. I would say, everyone has something that they have to go through in life. And for some, it's more visible than others. For me, people can look at my leg and see that I have a big scar, that I walk with a limp. But, even if sometimes you're told like there are some limitations to what you can do. I mean, people can tell you things, but really it's up to you to know if these are true limitations or if they're not, if this is something that you can push past and do more than maybe other people think, or maybe even you can do more than you think is possible. And so I would say, I do think that you should be proud of everything that you have overcome and over everything that you are overcoming every single day. I think you should be really proud of that and focus on how brave you are and how strong you are, but also know that that of these limitations, because we all have some degree of limitations, that it doesn't have to necessarily stop you. And if there's something that you really want to do, you can work towards it and look for support and do more than you could ever imagine. But I have to say I'm very proud of every single one of you and the work that you're doing. Hearing you guys are busy, and it sounds like you are incredible advocates of people with disabilities. And so I want to thank you for your work. Thank you.
Very good, actually. Go.
Yes, I do love England. I've been a couple times. I went last summer, and so if I go back, I know who to call. And I'm sure I'll be back at some point. But and I love that you're asking this question, because actually you focus on something that I feel very passionate about, which is exploring our planet, traveling, and getting to learn more about other cultures. And so since I've been back on Earth, I've always been a big traveler, but I've been traveling even more because especially seeing different parts of the Earth from space, it's inspired me to go even more places and see our beautiful planet from down here. And I love the challenge of being in other countries. I love meeting new cultures. And sometimes people have said things to me like people have said, "Oh, it's all downhill from space, huh?" And I'd say, like, I really don't think of it like that. Like, I got to go to space and it was an amazing experience, but when I'm on Earth, I get to do things that I couldn't do in space. I couldn't try new foods in space. I couldn't meet new people in space. I couldn't experience new cultures. And so there are a lot of really wonderful parts of being here on Earth. And so I am going to continue exploring our beautiful planet and then also sharing my story. I think that's really important. And so I'm so happy that you guys invited me today. I thank you so much for letting me share my story with you guys. And I've written a couple books, but and I have books for different age groups. And I feel content. I think I'm done with writing books, but one of the most important things that I do going forward is I'm continuing to work at St. Jude. So I am still working with kids with cancer, and the work that I do, I find incredibly inspiring. I love working with these kids and they teach me so much. And so I will be doing that for the rest of my life.
That's incredible. It's ironic that we're speaking to you today because we've got four people here who are student nurses, and they're doing their placement here in doing a creative health placement so that they start to think about the health promotion in the community and the work that we do here to try and prevent illness and support people with information if they do have illnesses, because not a lot of places have easy read guides for health for people with learning disabilities. So I just want to thank you and the nurses for all the things that you do for us with disabilities.
It's such great experience for the student nurses. I'm so glad they're able to do a rotation with you guys.
Yes. So we all just want to say a big thank you to you for coming today. It has been absolutely wonderful. So we want to give you a 1, 2, 3.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you guys so much. These questions were fantastic. And I'm so happy that I was able to hear an introduction of each of you and to meet all of you, because it's really inspiring to hear about the work that you're doing. What you're doing is making a really big impact. And so I just want to say, keep it up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's so nice to meet you guys. Thank you so much for having me. And I'm so happy you watched the documentary too. That's awesome. I hope that that I was able to cover some things today that wasn't in the documentary.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.